Cool. Hey everyone, my name is Ish. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Powerplay. Great to be here.
So, you're a serial entrepreneur and you started your journey pretty much soon after IIT. Just take me through your journey.
I think the जो आपका question है कीड़ा कहाँ से आया that's something that goes way back. I remember when there were when I was I think 8 years old, there used to be a school fair, मेला लगता था where students used to visit that fair and with their parents and all. And I remember back then I always wanted to sell something. I since the this fair was in summer season, so I decided to sell uh, cold cold drinks, not just the Coke and all, but made them there then itself in ice with sugar, etc. And
Like Shikaji and
right, and I saw my peers and friends too much interested in visiting the fair, shooting things, going to shops with their parents, but I had this different narrative. I will be the one selling something there. I think it tab se hai, and I think the next 3 4 years after that, I ended up convincing a neighbor of mine to give him his yard for 2 evenings so that I can hold my own fair and I can ask people to have shops in that fair. So it goes way back then. I think Kida tab se tha, but
which city did you grow up in?
I grew up in Gwalior.
Okay.
It's a city in Madhya Pradesh.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think uh, in my childhood, I was always intrigued by such things. I used to go and sell membership to my fair, and my parents were like, "क्या चंदा मांगने जा रहे हो बेटा? पढ़ाई कर लो." But I think ये तब से था, and then see, I wanted to go to IIT because frankly, my mom told me about it. I have no other reason. I thought my mom told me, boss, this is where you should go. This is your future, etc., etc. And it was a challenging problem. Like only a few could make it, right? So that made it interesting. I think I started studying for IT in my 11th, cleared it by in the drop year. But when I went there, I realized that the smartest people in India, in my age group, are just not interested in studies. Yes, there are people who are so much interested in academics, but there are also people who are interested in general things, in business, right, in research, etc., etc. And when you are surrounded by such folks, the bar is always high. Uh, so a lot of my deep friendships were made with such folks who are now entrepreneurs. So I think that that Kira got a lot of room to grow in IIT, where I did not start my own company till the last year, but it did a lot of things that grew me as a leader in the first 3 years. I started my own political party. I took part in a lot of events. Obviously, my GPA was 8 on 10. I could be great at studies, but I don't think I wanted to be. I wanted to just make it so that it's a good score, very good. You are graduated now, but so yeah, that Kira in third and fourth year when I saw my seniors from college. Razor Pay founders doing good stuff, making a company out of a college group. So they used to have this SDS labs in college. That was the place where all the techies used to go. That group was directly hired in Razor Pay when they started their own company, and it was like, "Boss, nice, this is good." You are basically extending your time with friends in your professional life. You used to be with them now, work on hard problems, work different things, and you sort of doing the same thing. My co-founder was from the same SDS Labs, mobile development group, and all that. So I think that was where I started thinking, boss, this can be a career. It cannot be just a hobby. And yeah, so I think when I graduated, it was very clear in my mind that I will not work for a lot of months and years. I joined Cardeco as a software dev. I left it in a month and started a company. So I think that space was there.
What was the idea? Did you have an idea, or did you just want to be an entrepreneur? An idea baad mein aayega.
आइडिया बाद में आएगा. It was very clear to me. As I told you, right? बचपन में we are selling things. Okay, so I really used to think that I can sell someone anything. That was in my college days, and the real test was uh, when I went into politics and I wanted people to vote for the candidates that stood for me, etc. So yeah, means learned a lot of things back then. So this was something common with me. Maybe whatever it is, I will sell it. Now, with time, I started understanding what are the things you sell so that you become a great entrepreneur. A successful business can be built very fast. And then I started realizing, okay, it has to be products with minimal marginal cost of production so that you can sell more, make less, like software, media. Such things started becoming clear because of my engineering mind. And I realized, acha nahi yaar, matlab you can sell everything, but you will not become a big business just because you sell anything, right? You'll have to start thinking about what can I sell. And then in that journey, I realized, boss, making software is a very primal need today. Means if you are an entrepreneur and you can't code something quickly, it becomes very difficult for you to iterate and test your ideas. So yeah, means these two things. The fourth year, after all that politics and all, fourth year I was coding. Because I wanted to start something once I graduate. So I started making a lot of things. So my first idea, to very frankly start thinking about ideas, you walk across the road, the first thing you see is kirana stores because they're everywhere. So my
Right.
first startup was to help kirana stores. It was something like grofers. The first idea, it was very brief. I think 6 to 9 months. We pivoted to something else, but yeah, that's how it started. And
Like an app from where customers can order and fulfillment through Kirana stores.
yeah, but it was that back then I was thinking I have to offer something, a solution to the kirana stores because they would want to sell more. But so there's a learning here. I realized that after a point in time, people are not very ambitious. Everybody is not ambitious. So a kirana store might be happy doing what they're doing. They just want to make sure needs are met. So this was my learning back then. Ki nahi yaar, matlab, just because your business wants someone to become big, they will not become big. Ultimately, consumers should be placing orders on the platform so that the people who want to become big can cater those orders and blah blah blah. So yeah, these
Amazing.
are a few things, but yeah.
Amazing. Okay, that's a very good insight. Okay. Then what? So you did this 6 9 months. Then what was the next?
So so I realized that orders started flowing in. Okay, I think onboarded close to. So back there I was in Jaipur. Um, Jaipur में Karthiko's headquarters is in Jaipur. So I left my job. Did not think to relocate back then. I was naive. Later I took a decision to move to Bangalore. But in 6 to 9 months, we were able to scale orders. But one thing I noticed was I was being charged. I was making money on a meter down approach. That so I gave you a solution. Now, whenever you get order, I also used to provide network of these logistic providers to ship. So small people on bike, this service was add on with the software. Now I started realizing that 5 kilometer दूर delivery है तो net what I'm making is some absolute number. I'm not making a percentage of the order. And if I were to make a percentage of the order, I need to bring orders. And that's where I started thinking, me was offering something just to the suppliers, my scope would be limited. They might not pay a lot for the software. And in order to grow the business, I would need to bring in orders. And that's when I pivoted to this B2B wholesale marketplace where I started thinking about. तो यार तब क्या था ना, हमारे customers में से most of the people in Jaipur are apparel manufacturers and wholesalers. तो a lot of our buyers were कि वो factory से सामान उठा के retailer को दे दो, and they were using my service just to do that. So when I started interviewing these people, I realized, boss, these manufacturers could not sell outside Jaipur or Rajasthan. They face a big issue. The only good enough platform is India Mart. So that's when I started thinking maybe there's something of a B2B marketplace that can be built here, and that's when I pivoted to this. That was something like Udaan. Uh, that's what I
Supplying
pivoted to.
fashion. Uh,
Yeah. So retailers across the country could place an order, and manufacturers sitting in Jaipur, Surat, Ludhiana, Tirupur can supply to them.
how did you do this without raising funds? If you're like really going after pan India retailers.
I, okay, so let's discuss what happened back then, because see, I was very naive. I did not think I would need money, to be very frank. What I did is I I started calling Just Dial pay retailers, and I already had a few manufacturers. I just became a sales agent, started selling them things, then hired two more people to do that, and then brought a product which can do the same thing after the third or fourth order for the same guy from the same buyer. And after a point in time I started feeling the need कि यार अच्छा अब इसको और तेजी से grow करना है, then I need to have working capital in place and then more people in place. So how to go big is something I need money for.
Why do
That
you
was
need
one
working
thing I
capital?
realized.
The order was flowing through you, or you were just
It
connecting?
was flowing through me.
Okay.
It was flowing.
So you have to pay
Uh,
manufacturer in advance, and you'll receive payment after a
there
few
was a
days.
7 to 15 days ka window
Yep.
that
Yep.
was killing me after a point in time, because uh, that's when I realized, okay. And sometimes for bigger orders, right, these people would be like, I want 90-day credit. And I was like, if I give you 90-day credit, I will not exist. So, so yeah, that's where really started to learn the basics of. So I would say if someone gave me money back then, he would be a stupid person, because I did not know basics, right? And either I could have joined an early stage startup to learn those things, or I could have done it myself. Good thing is when I did it myself, I knew the some core values कि यार frugal होना क्यों जरूरी है, why it's important that after a point in time orders start flowing on the app, why it's important that you don't have a credit period to start with, right? All of these like minute things that you need to know. And then I started raising funds when I started feeling ki, oh boss, I need money. And the reality check was given to me very I think I pitched to 63 investors back then. uh,
Wow. Like
and I
angels,
failed.
early stage
Yeah.
VCs.
VCs, angels, everyone. And they were we were four co-founders back then, because I felt if I can't hire people, so why not have them as co-founders? Because
Right.
then they will not ask for salaries
Yeah.
anymore. So
Right.
there were two tech people and one ops guy, and I
Yeah.
was the sales guy.
Yeah.
So, and when I started pitching investors, I realized how. So see, if you are an entrepreneur, I really believe this. You must know how all your stakeholders think. Customer is one stakeholder, your employee is second stakeholder, and your most important stakeholder is कस्टमर आफ्टर दैट इन्वेस्टर. नाउ इन्वेस्टर कैसे सोचता है, एंटरप्रेन्योर को बहुत लेट समझ में आता है. दे डोंट नो हाउ इन्वेस्टर्स थिंक, एंड दे बिलीव दैट इफ यू इवन इफ दे आर ओपनिंग अ स्मॉल रेस्टोरेंट दे कैन रेज अ वीसी राउंड.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
तो ये थोड़ा एजुकेशन मिसिंग है. पीपल कम अप टू मी से कि यार मैंने ना सर वेयर हाउस डाल दिया है, अब वीसी फंडिंग दिला दो. मैंने कहा यार मैं पहली बात तो आई कांट डू एनीथिंग अबाउट वीसी फंडिंग, आई एम नॉट एन इन्वेस्टर, बट सेकेंडली नोबडी विल इन्वेस्ट. एंड आई थिंक इफ आई न्यू दैट व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड अप, आई वुड हैव had to make this discussion whether I want to make a VC business that can go really fast in 10 years, or a business that makes me happy. I can make money. I can make money over salary के ऊपर से and all that. And I think I made that call when I started my second startup. When I started Powerplay, I was very clear. I think me and my co-founder both are very ambitious people. I don't think we can do jobs, right? I can join a company and help that company grow really fast. But I think that ambition of going really fast made us think about this. तो तब 63 investors को pitch करके clear हो गया था boss how they think. Many people told me a lot of things. मोट नहीं है, उड़ान आ गया, अब क्या करोगे, 15 million का seed round किया है उड़ान ने, how can you? And I used to think, I remember I was Nexus में, there's a partner, very really great person, Sameer. Sameer Bridge Verma. He was in Jumbo Tail also. So I was sitting in a cafe with him. Okay. Somebody told me, boss, सब बढ़िया दिख रहा है लेकिन उड़ान is there. How will you compete? मैंने कहा सर 15 मिलियन में इंडस्ट्री थोड़ी बनती है. You give me 15 million, I will also do the same. And I was so naive, by the way. So I told him this, and he, being a great guy, did not laugh at me. And later he wrote a mail telling me, "यार देख boss, ये issue था तेरे business के साथ." So I learned this the hard way, कि boss, nobody will invest in your business if it's not enticing for them, and banks will not give you a loan so easily. So so ये learning I think वो 2 साल में आई थी, and 0 to 1 I understood how to make sure why will someone place an order, because I was selling the first 3 orders, 4 orders, I was doing them. So I knew how small businesses are thinking. तो ना मैं हमेशा ऐसे सोचता हूँ कि यार I think I was made to do this because I have this relevant piece of experience. I have done software for small businesses. I have done marketplace for small businesses. I have tried to raise a VC round. और वो सब combine करके I was doing this time. So yeah.
How did you end up in Jumbo Team?
So as soon as I started looking for capital, I realized that there are a few folks who have raised capital, and I wanted to learn from them because I was not able to. So I pinged the founders. I told them, boss, I want to meet. I pinged a lot of founders. They and a few others replied. Then I started meeting the founder Ashish. And I started discussing problems with him. He told me, "Dekh boss, problem to hai hi, obviously solve karna padega, etc., etc." And when I was deciding to shut down, I told Ashish, "यार नहीं समझ में आ रहा है. I think I will have to shut and think about what to do next." And then he told me, "If you are thinking, I think we have a role for you." And I joined in the business team because they were thinking कि product में जाओगे. I thought, boss, business is something I'm really interested in. I want to know how can we grow fast and all that. So post that, in 2 years in Jumbotail, I learned how to go big very fast. Means what are the systems that need to be in place so that you grow fast. That involves people, that involves process, that involves funnel management, etc. So all of that I learned there.
Just break it down. What are the things you need? Like, what are the things you should have done in a way when you had done the 0 to 1? The 1 to 100 was when you quit. But what were the things you should have done based on the Jumbotail experience?
So yeah, first thing I would have raised funds. Second thing I would have done is I would not have changed me selling myself to the first 50 customers, because that would have given me a lot of idea around what it takes to land orders. So I would have divided the entire funnel कि यार चलो acquisition है, acquisition के बाद activation, activation के बाद retention है. अब ये 3 चीजें हैं. I was only doing acquisition and then activation part of it and then delegating to someone. Then retention तो भूल जाओ. When the most important thing is retention. Now what would I have changed is I would have managed the entire funnel for 6 months, and then would have figured out what it takes and then brought the right people in place, set up the process, and then moved away. So in Jumbotail, I learned that 5 transaction हाथ पकड़ के कराओ, छठा खुद से करेगा. That 5 transaction was activation period. And if he's not doing this repeat transaction, retention is not coming. And retention will only come when you actually provide some value. You will have to provide a value so that the guy comes back again and again. I learned the importance of knowing the frequency of the problem the guy faces. If the frequency problem is once in lifetime, you don't have a big business. For example, you buy a house once in lifetime. Now people ask me, Powerplay आपने home बनाने वालों के लिए क्यों नहीं बनाया? भाई धंधा कैसे बनेगा? मतलब वो तो जिंदगी में एक बार घर लेगा, फिर उसके लिए ऐप यूज पे क्यों करेगा? मतलब my freemium product is sufficient. Even if I make it paid, I will make 10,000 rupees from one guy in the entire lifetime. That's not a big business. So such things, I think observing for 6 months is very important. Jumping to conclusions is not good. Doing anything new, you need to observe a lot of things. And I think I really believe in this Uber there's a core value of Uber. Ops first. They say, यार देखो tech बनाएंगे, लेकिन we need to understand बनाना क्या है. And to solve real world problems, you have to solve those problems first. You will see a lot of marketplaces doing orders themselves and then setting up places, structures in place. When we were doing this software bit also, we saw what people are doing without Powerplay tried to help them in that, and then made the product. So observing for 6 months what's happening, and then setting up structure, and then moving away, because now if you put more people, more top of the funnel leads, etc., business will come in. There'll be a business in place. So I'm doing that right now. So I did that in Powerplay. I made sure that's
Yeah. I think Airbnb famously had this approach.
Yeah.
The founder said that you have to do things that don't scale early on in the journey.
True. That gives you a lot of learning. And Paul Graham is the one who said this. I really like Paul Graham's essays.
Okay, amazing. Okay, so you spent 2 years at Jumbo Tail. Then what?
Yeah. So when I joined Jumbo Tail, I told Ashish, boss, 2 साल में आप मुझे निकाल देना, or remind me to leave, because I'm telling you, I don't want to stay for more than 2 years, because I want to start my own company. And before my parents start saying, shadi kar lo, I have to have a company that works. Otherwise, I'll not get married. That was like very clear in my mind. And 2 साल खत्म होने से थोड़ा पहले ही I told him, boss, I think I need to step out and try things. He was very supportive. Obviously, entrepreneurs like other entrepreneurs, they have a lot of empathy. So when I was about to quit, I started thinking what to do next, and I had this framework in my mind how to select ideas, and I made that framework after reading a lot. I read about how users think people behave in India. I also read about how investors think and behave in India. I also read about how employees, what kind of companies employees want to join, blah blah blah. ये सब सोचने के बाद when I started thinking, so there was a framework to choose the idea, and the framework had like 5 or 6 parameters.
Can you like describe the framework, and for our listeners who are thinking of
Yeah, sure. So disclaimer, this is only for if you want to become a VC funded. When I say VC funded, that means you have to become very big in 10 years. VC will not invest. That's their business. Don't feel bad if they don't invest, because you understand that's the business they are in. If you have thought that, nay, boss, in 10 years, I want to make a very big business, you are ambitious like that. You can't sit like कि छोटा कुछ कर रहा हूं तो बस बैठे हैं. No, if you can't be like that person, this is for you. So the first criteria was market. How big is the market? Now, I'm not saying today. I'm saying in the next 5 years, what market is going to be big. You can't figure this out very clearly. ऐसे बैठे रहोगे तो you'll have to read. तो I started thinking about क्या क्या market बड़ा हो सकता है. तो कुछ कुछ चीजें मेरे दिमाग में आई थी. For example, now it is sort of becoming big, which is AR, augmented reality. I'll come to why AR is a market, but back then I used to think AR is a market, and I thought ये बड़ा होगा because everybody will sort of put glasses and all that. Predictions were there and all. It went wrong in the future steps of the framework. The first thing is market. You need to be very clear why something is big or will become big. There has to be rationale behind it. Second is competition. See, if there are a lot many people in the industry solving the same problem, then you can't say कि 100 बिलियन का मार्केट है, मैं 1% भी मिल जाएगा तो 1 बिलियन की कंपनी बन जाऊंगा, because that's not how it works. वो 100 बिलियन के मार्केट में जो 20 लोग बैठे हैं वो पागल थोड़ी है. मतलब they are working their ass off to be there, right? So new player cannot come in until unless you have a unique insight. So now YC promotes this a lot. They have this question in their form when you apply. What is the unique insight that you have? So anyways, competition नहीं है तो भी दिक्कत है, बहुत ज़्यादा है तो भी दिक्कत है. तो there's a sweet spot where you'll find that few people have tried but not really succeeded. And why have they not succeeded is the unique insight.
Okay. But this competition नहीं है means the market is not big enough.
हाँ, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है बॉस. बट बहुत ज़्यादा है, लाइक इन FMCG तो कि बॉस इधर कुछ नहीं कर सकते. But there has to be some market where few people have tried, it's not worked. For example, Google was the 10th search engine. People were trying to become big business there, but nobody was able to figure out how to become a big business. What Google did worked out. Facebook was not the first social network, right? MySpace was there and not many others. Orkut was there. तो वो यूनिक इनसाइट क्या है? फेसबुक की थी कि यार लोगों का नेटवर्क ही कॉलेज में रहता है, तो वाई अ ग्लोबल नेटवर्क ओनली ए local social network in a college will work, because most friends are concentrated there. That was the unique insight which MySpace did not have, Orkut did not have. Nobody targeted the users like this. So this was the second thing. There has to be a contrarian insight against competition. It takes a lot of time to dig these, and you have to talk to users to understand these. And डिटेल में जाऊंगा, there was just set of questions I used to ask, वो भी मैंने बनाए थे सोच के. This is the second step. The third step is, if this is there, the competition is sort of in this range, then you need to figure out where do these guys spend time online. So देखो यार, you will not get money. पहला राउंड 10 मिलियन का नहीं होने वाला है if you are not a seasoned 2-3 times entrepreneur. देन आपका पहला राउंड आधे मिलियन का ही होगा. अब आधे मिलियन के राउंड में आजकल 2 मिलियन के होने लगे हैं, चलो, बट इतने पैसे में ना आप ऐसे फ्लीट ऑन स्ट्रीट सेट करके और से नहीं कर पाओ. यू नीड टू फिगर आउट इफ पीपल एग्जिस्ट ऑनलाइन कहीं भी, लिटिल बिट, हु एग्जिस्ट ऑनलाइन वेयर. इफ यू नो दैट, यू नीड टू डिवाइस अ स्ट्रैटेजी की ये कैसे होगा, मतलब, बट एग्जिस्टिंग ऑनलाइन हैज टू बी देयर. तो मेरे केस में पावर प्ले में मेरे को बहुत बड़ा डाउट था कि डू दिस बिजनेस एग्जिस्ट ऑनलाइन. लकीली जो साइट सुपरवाइजर है, they were online, and that's where the GTM I told you about, right? The fourth thing was marginal cost. Whatever you're selling, just make sure it can be produced at mass at minimum. तो आप देखते होगे कोई भी अगर ब्रांड बना रहा है तो वो अपना प्रोडक्शन गीगा फैक्ट्री बनानी ही पड़ेगी, क्योंकि then marginal cost of production will reduce if you have at scale production. सॉफ्टवेयर और मीडिया के केस में वो प्रॉब्लम नहीं रहती है, बिकॉज you make a great software and then you can sell it again and again. You make a greater piece of music or film, you can sell it again and again. So in my mind it was clear कि यार software पे ही double down करेंगे, because I know how to do that. So ऐसे कर करके there were 2-3 more things, but yeah.
Let's introduce Powerplay here for our listeners.
Yeah.
So keeping in mind these 5-6 parameters we spoke about, just explain what is Powerplay.
Okay. So Powerplay is like an operating system for construction industry, because construction as an industry has been way backward in tech adoption, and there is a reason behind that. Because the stakeholders who work in construction, they did not own a PC for a long time. They now have a computer in their hand with internet. So this change struck later for these guys. Now, when I say Powerplay is an operating system, I mean they do everything on Powerplay. They procure material on Powerplay, they manage it on Powerplay, then they sort of bring their labor on Powerplay, then they take attendance of labor on Powerplay, and then whatever output is created, they take photos of that output, kya kaam ho gaya on Powerplay, and then they send it to their customers on Powerplay. So the entire construction happens on Powerplay, and that's where we proudly say that we are bringing construction online. So roughly 1% of India's construction today happens on Powerplay.
Okay, amazing. And so this is obviously a large market, construction.
That's
a
600 billion का construction होता है, and
competition.
So that's the first criteria. There were players in the market. So if you ask me who's the competition, real competition, it's WhatsApp and paper. But people don't really want to listen to that. There were small fragmented players where, for example, you'll find a few folks making software for big builders. Now they are making software because the builder thinks that he needs a software. And yes, he's right that there's a problem that he feels is there and he needs a software for that. But the process of making product is not like that. So a lot of what we have seen is these fragmented players made something that the customers wanted exactly. They did not think whether the problem would be solved or not. So when I started noticing players, I saw, so someone has 10 customers, someone has 15, someone has 100, right? And these are medium-sized builders. So they have money. Short-term optimizations, it's great that you take 20 lakh from the builder, make a software, an annual maintenance of 2 lakh. It's a recurring revenue business. But whatever you end up making is so customized for the builder that it won't scale.
It's
So
not a product.
it's not a product. It's like a service here. So that's what I realized. So इसमें सबसे बड़ा validation ये था यार कि builders are paying. Right? So that's the first validation. Okay, people have problem. That's why they shell money. Otherwise they don't. Especially Indian businesses, they don't give money if they don't have a problem. तो ऐसे छोटे छोटे players I saw and realized ठीक है यार, this is something they have not cracked. And I went in detail of that. कि यार वो insight क्या है? Why are people not able to adopt to the existing softwares? तो यार मेरे को insight ये मिली कि nobody thinks about adoption. See, you can make a software, but will it be adopted? Will the site team open it every day? Will they put in things that are required to be put in every day? वो कैसे होगा, right? So I used to hear a lot from the customers when I used to sell this software in the early days कि यार बहुत लोगों ने आके बेच दिया हमें, चलता नहीं है. I asked क्यों? कि यार पैसे तो ले लोगे, डेटा नहीं आएगा, फिर डेटा नहीं आएगा तो हम बैठे रहेंगे, right? And then ultimately I will have to ask for a refund or leave the platform, or you will have to put that data go on the site. अरे तो software नहीं रहा, फिर तो it's a different business. So I realized that software companies made whatever the builder told them to, but they never thought of adoption. And that's where we were different. When I realized this is the problem, I flipped the entire strategy. I said, भाई builder के लिए बनाना ही नहीं है, पहले site वाले के लिए बनाते हैं. Because if this guy uses the product, we can make money. I am clear that the guy sitting on the top will pay if the data is there. So yeah, that was the unique insight. वो insight के बाद ही I was able to raise big money. Otherwise, we were figuring it out and very few real believers invested. मतलब India Quotient is one of the VC firms who invested when we did not have this insight. So yeah, that was the second thing.
How did you raise money without even having the business insight? Like you pitched this idea of operating system for construction industry. Okay.
Yeah, I pitched this, but so see, the market was big. So that's the learning a lot of entrepreneurs need to have is, yeah, market big hoga, so people would want to hear. See, if you say I'm a 10 million market, VC will stop listening to you. He will say, "Ki meeting khatam kaise karna hai?" Because his incentive is not aligned. Why will he waste more, like 5 more minutes on this conversation when it's not going to give him something? The market was big, and so when the first investor invested, in their mind it was pretty clear कि यार देखो हो सकता है कि 50 million का ही market, but I am okay with that fact, right? I feel the market is big. The entrepreneur is saying कि यार these many people will pay this much amount, तो my bottom up calculation says इतना revenue हो सकता है. इस पे I am okay. So I pitched a number of $100 to $120 million in software revenue back then.
After how many years? Like in 5 years time or something?
5 to 8 years, this revenue I will reach.
Okay.
तो और उसका math ऐसे ही लगता है यार, how many people exist in the market? What proof do we have that they will pay X amount, which will make the math as 100 million? And there are good amount of people here in construction. Businesses are a lot. The question was on amount. The math. तो अभी जो हमारी pricing है उसमें math works. तो we are sticking.
And how did you acquire customers cheaply? Like you said, that you have to figure out.
Yeah, the first. So when the first India Quotient invested, we had only 5 customers, and 3-4 were in pipeline conversion के लिए. And the process back then was call, meet, show software, get approval, get them to pay, and then start adoption.
This was top-down approach where you were going.
This was top-down approach when I started. Yes.
Yeah.
All of this unique insights I started getting there only. Ki acha, before the software did not work because of this reason. And then when I realized this was the reason, that's when he flipped. So now when they flipped, see, business owners spend time online. But more than that, the site team spends time online. They are active on Instagram. They are active on YouTube. And if there's a business, there'll be one owner. But there will be 12 to 15 other folks. Right? So the touch point increases. So, and the frequency of time spent was more when these bottom of the pyramid is targeted. So you won't believe I was able to reach out to one supervisor. When I started, there was no one doing this. 3 rupees. One guy. Today it's obviously increasing. So
But
we were
what was your pitch to the supervisor?
एक click में report बनाओ. So they have to send this report back to the head office.
Okay.
Now this report needs to have 3-4 sections. और होता क्या था कि वो बनाने में उसको 15 से 20 मिनट आधा घंटा जाता था. Now the young guys really value saving this 15-20 minutes also. तो when we used to pitch एक क्लिक में रिपोर्ट निकल आएगी, वेरी क्यूरियस टू सी हाउ. तो ऑनबोर्डिंग ऐसे होती थी ऐप की कि यार बस ये 2 डेटा डालो और ये देखो बढ़िया पीडीएफ रिपोर्ट निकल आई. All of the details are really good looking here. You don't have to change the font, you nothing. It's very good looking, and you can just share it now. So this was the pitch, and still the pitch. So that's where we solve their problem. There are 2-3 more problems, but yeah.
And the report format is standard across industry.
It's called a DPR, daily progress.
Daily
report.
progress. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very common term, and it's actually taught in civil engineering also.
Okay. Okay. So it was fairly like everybody needs to send one, so you can have one.
So there are more formats of DPR, DLR, DMR. ऐसे कर करके 3-4 format है, but it's limited. There are not more than 4-5 formats.
Okay. So this started getting you free users. How did that become a business with paying users?
So first 5-6 customers we bought top down. We knew people have problems, they will pay. When we flipped it, the major challenge was how to reach out to the owners of these people. So the first channel was when they shared report, we used to ask for their details. And then we started reaching them out. So it took some time. It took some time to build the product, to retain, and then reach out, etc., etc. But this was the way. So now if someone in your org will download Powerplay and start using it and share a report with you, we will get to know. And we will sort of try to reach out to you saying कि our adoption is there. If you pay this much, all of these problems will be solved. And that's the pitch we make today.
Okay. What is the pitch for paying to the owner?
It's very simple. You save 5 to 7% on your project cost. And there are ways and case studies we share. So see, owner के mind में ना, मतलब if you ask me to pinpoint and say कि यार what exact problem, so few things are there. First of all, see, if you are a contractor and you delay the project, there is a penalty that you pay. It can be in the form of money or your image in the front of customer, because you get a lot of referrals from the customer, etc., etc. Now this is the major. तो delays नहीं हो. अब delays बहुत सारे reasons की वजह से नहीं होते हैं. Material late आया, labor absent है ना. तो all of these things contribute to delay. So the first pitch is, boss, delay proactively manage कर पाओगे, तो you'll not get a sorry figure in front of your customer or face penalties. You can say this is the picture. This is where we are. Second is material cost, because 60% of your cost is material today if you're a construction business. And by the end of the project, you realize कि यार you have wasted a lot of material because you ordered the wrong one or you ordered late or blah blah blah. So making sure that you have the exact visibility, this is what I needed, this is what came in time पे आ गया तो delay नहीं होगा, and then the cost is in track. A lot of pilferage happens, but a lot of theft happens which is not in track. So that's the second thing. And the last is the smallest component of your business cost is labor. It's around 12 to 15%. बट यार उनको पे कितना करना है ये कैलकुलेट करने में आपके प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर का 2 घंटा वीकली जाएगा, बिकॉज यू विल ऑल द रजिस्टर्स, यू विल पुट दैट डेटा, वेज निकालोगे, एडवांस निकालोगे, कैलकुलेट करोगे, फिर जाके सब कॉन्ट्रैक्टर लेवल पे वो नंबर निकालोगे. दिस हैपेंस इन मिनट्स ऑन Powerplay. सो दैट वाज द पिच. तो ऐसे करके 3 ब्रॉड सेट्स थे व्हिच पीपल पे फॉर.
Okay. How do you ensure material efficiency in material procurement? मतलब how do you know कि order क्या होना चाहिए? मतलब one is कि you will show कि ये आ गया and all that, but आना क्या चाहिए? वो ideal state कैसे पता लगती है?
So customers put it on the tool first of all. So whenever they are thinking and when they're starting a project, they list everything, and there's a process internally that's followed. So जो ये list बनाता है वो projects team का आदमी है. He thinks I need this to execute, and who buys is the procurement person. So this list needs to be traveling to the procurement guy and then tracked by both parties. Is it happening? This management happens on the tool. Now, if you ask me what can be done to generate that list automatically, so that's something we are working on. It's a lot of, so okay, so if you can know, if you want to do 1,000 square feet of tiling, just say, how much sand, how much cement, how much water, how much tiles would you need, right? This is i this is not like some rocket science. This is basic math. These numbers, since we have a lot of data gathered, we know these numbers, so we start going to recommend these things to the customers.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so the project guy, when he makes the procurement list, he will also put milestones, like on this milestone you purchase this, and the app is tracking the milestones. So the app is able to tell the procurement guy that this is the next thing to be
Yes.
procured because this milestone has
Yes.
been met. And, okay,
Yes. Yes.
okay. Okay, got it. So I understand procurement, and obviously wastefulness is avoided because you have the exact set of stuff. But
Yeah.
does it work like that in real life? I mean, I would assume real life is much messier than
Yeah.
this. Things would not go as per plan and so on and so forth. And how would you come to know which
Things
filter
never
why?
go as per plan.
Hmm.
So our customers know that the plan is made to be broken, but still you need to track something, because means you might aim for the stars but land on the moon wali baat hai. So you still need to track, be proactive, and that's why people buy it. So okay, procurement guy, if it's clear, the project tracking bit, right? If you go to the nuance reasons, if you use WhatsApp, the you have limited storage, your phone will start hanging with photos. At least 15 to 20 photos per WhatsApp group lands on, if you are running the business. The quality of those photos are degraded because it's compressed. These are smaller reasons why people every day think, yeah, chalo Powerplay is better. You don't get structured visibility. यार यार फोटोज डली हुई हैं, इसमें से सिविल वर्क की कौन सी है, इसमें से मेरे फ्लोरिंग की कौन सी है, और वो काम कब तक होना था, वो क्या है, blah blah blah. This all structure starts coming with the quality of data. Now with this amount of information you are better prepared to achieve your targets. I can't say कि वो उतने टाइम में होगा कि नहीं होगा, but you proactively know what's happening, and that's what we solve. Now the more and more you use, the more and more value increases. You can use more features to get more value. तो अभी जैसे milestone आपने डाला, you can put a feature of automatic DPR where you will be, your team will be reminded कि ये सब हो जाना चाहिए था, आज तक हुआ नहीं है, तो we need to think about reasons why it has not happened, so that in the weekly meeting you can discuss. So these things are add-ons. When you might not adopt to these features and you will get less value, but if you adopt more and more and more, you will get more involved in the process. तो पहले दिन पे ना यार, मतलब देखो, ideally तो people miss a lot of things, and we realize that we don't push them to use the entire software the first day. We say यार boss start करते हैं, because whatever you do is better than, like 5x better than what you are doing, and then let's aim more.
So you would also be asking them to upload photo of inventory and stuff like that, through which you know that pilferage हुआ या नहीं हुआ.
They
Like
put
you,
numbers in.
okay, numbers and photo. ठीक है, got it. How do you move customers up the value chain that they use more features? Is it like, is there a person who's guiding them, or is it purely through prompts and wizards and so on the software?
So as I told you, right, this, I really believe in this ops first mindset. I really believe that if you do it manually for a few times, you will realize what it takes. So for the first 100 customers, we did it manually, right? And we realized what it takes. So a few things that we did was, one thing is called progressive disclosure of features. We don't reveal everything the first day. It's not required. It will confuse you. If there are 10 things on the screen, you will not use the one thing that you came to use. So that's the first thing that we did. A lot of things are not visible when you come to the app now. It will start revealing themselves when you need them. We started working towards the motivation of the users. Yeah, Kunal Shah, once I remember, told a very interesting thing. Okay, everybody is making things easy to use. For example, you can place an order easily, but nobody is looking about motivation. Why do I want to do that? And once we realize this, right, we start thinking, yaar, why will someone put information daily? Why will someone look at it daily? That motivation, if you understand that motivation, there are 8 to 9 types of motivation if you go detail into it. And there's one great book recommended by Gaurav Munjal, the Academy founder, Actionable Gamification. It works on the concept of how to make sure that the user is motivated at the right time to do things. So these are the things you only realize when you do things manually. You realize, oh, this is what is happening, right? And then you make sort of a journey of the user depending on his role and when he came and etc. So making a good software is hard. It takes a lot of thought to be put in. So people usually ask me, यार तुम्हारा तो इतना फंड रेज क्यों करा, सॉफ्टवेयर तो बनाना था. मैंने कहा बॉस, making a great software for a lagging tech industry requires a lot of effort. So all of these things, yes.
You had this about $500,000 round which you raised in 2020. This was pre the pivot to bottom up, and then the next round you raised was about 5 million. So this 5 million was to build the product.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the kind of product that was needed was very different.
Help me understand the, like, you must have mentally thought, okay, out of this 5 million I'll spend this much on engineering team, this much on a PM, and like what is the way in which you think about the cost of building a product? How do you decide कि मुझे इतना raise करना चाहिए, मेरी product building cost इतनी होगी?
It doesn't work that way, by the way.
Okay, then how does it work?
It doesn't go cost plus.
Okay.
It goes जितना मिला है उसमें क्या करना है. So if I were to put in the math, so let's think about the question like this: how an entrepreneur should think, how much should I raise? Because I think that is the sort of message.
Yeah. That is, yeah.
There's a really great I forgot who wrote it, but some US VC wrote about it, saying startup is like peeling an onion of risks. So when you start a company, there are a lot of risks. Everything can go wrong, but then you need to mitigate one risk at a time so that your business becomes stronger and stronger and more predictable. When you start, it's all unpredictable. You don't know what will happen. But with time, you'll have to build predictability in your business so that tomorrow when it goes public likes predictability, man. Public doesn't want कि 8% डाला करोड़ जाएगा, right? So you need to list those risks down. So if you raise a round, you need to know what risks I will mitigate. So the risk I wanted to mitigate by raising the 5 million round was, can my product work for a business that they spend a lot of time on the product, they do everything here? Is it easy to do that for them, etc., etc.? If that happens, the next round I will raise is going to be, can I do this 1000x, 10,000x? Can I bring in 6, 7, 8,000 businesses? So the next round I raised was for this. So one risk at a time, because it's good to be lean. You should not choose 10 risks. So this is how you should think. And I think the first biggest risk is जिसको लोग PMF बोलते हैं, कि यार if whether your product really fits the market or not. So I think our PMF was achieved after the 5 million round. It was not achieved pre the 5 million round.
Why 5 million? वो number कहाँ से आया? That's what I want to know. Or you felt कि इतना मैं raise कर सकता हूँ?
No, I did not ask for 5 million.
Okay.
I was out there raising $1 million. And then
$1 million is enough to make a good B2B SaaS product?
I think yes.
Okay. Like you can hire a product manager and a tech team.
No, don't hire PM the first day. See, PMs are great when you know the problem. When you know here is the problem. Initially, you need to have a system where a PM, when joins, can easily find problems. I have done this mistake where I hired a PM and threw him in a very unpredictable set of market where there is no user, nothing. PMs are so the right person is a entrepreneurial person who can do multiple things, figure out chaos में से structure, and then funnel पे PM को बैठा दो कि ये optimize करना है. So I did not have a plan to bring in PM in the 5 million round. मैंने PM उसके बाद hire किया.
Okay.
So anyways, come in.
Your story of how that 1 million became 5.
See, this is a truth. Entrepreneurs should understand. You don't raise money when you need it. You will not get the right terms when you need it. Everybody does not have that freedom. Paul Graham wrote in an article, that you should raise money not for survival, but for growth. If you don't end up raising, you will not grow as fast as you could have, but you still could have survived. So from the first day, in my mind, it was very clear, boss, if I don't raise a round, I will still survive. I will make software revenues. I will run the company. But if I raise, I will raise to make it really big, because that's what the investor also wants. So in my first round, I think the opportunity for the VCs was not as big. The story, when they understood how big can this become, was not really clear to them. In the next 3 months, when we pivoted to this approach and we realized how big can this become now, I think that story changed, and all the VCs I was talking to really understood, acha, okay, this can be big. And since I was talking to them and people started believing this can be big, multiple people told that we would want to invest. And when multiple people told we would want to invest, that's when, to incorporate them, the round got bigger. Otherwise, we would have raised $1 to $2 billion.
What do you mean when you say you were talking to VCs? So I would assume that you made a pitch, VC said, okay, I'll get back to you. But end of story. Well, like you kept giving them updates, information. How did you engage them so that they were ready to put in a bigger amount?
Updates is one thing for sure. But I have a different thesis. So one thing is, see, if you're in this business, you will meet all these investors for your seed round, then pre-seed, then seed, then series A. So you meet them quite often. Now, if you don't end up raising, you will meet for the same round. But in my case, it was like I went first, people did not invest, I raised from someone. Went second, then also did not invest, raised from someone. So they knew me for a long, and in fact, they knew me from my first startup. A lot of people who invested today knew me from my first B2B marketplace startup, and they were like, "Boss, tu abhi tak laga hua hai, manega nahi." So yes, this builds with time. So and building any career will take more like 5 to 10 years, right? So this is a career that I chose to 3-4 साल में समझ में आया कि yeah. Today also, I keep on exchanging emails with the investors that have not invested. And I keep on updating them here and there. When I meet them, I tell them maybe not the entire story, but what's exciting. And then raising is a different story. When you raise, so again, Paul Graham has told this, don't be in raise mode all the time. You will not end up raising and not even building a good company. When you are in the raise mode, you decide 50% of your time is going to go here. One co-founder will be here half of the time, and that should be clear. And business should be able to run without that co-founders half of the time. And then you go all out. You start meeting everyone, etc.
Okay, so what you're saying is those 63 investors who said no to you, the right way to look at it is not yet.
Not yet, yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think few of them invested, yes.
Amazing. And maybe a few more will invest in future.
Inshallah.
Okay. So let's continue the journey. So you got these site supervisors on, and then you started going to the owners. How did you figure out pricing? What kind of revenues did you start seeing? Like after the 5 million round?
So it's an interesting question because what is the right price of your product? How to decide that? When you go online, you'll start figuring out how much value customer makes, and then charge 10, 20, 30% of that value. Then you go out calculating that value. You are an optimist as an entrepreneur, that value comes very high. So can you guess what monthly subscription I asked my customer to pay when I did this math? Any guesses? Any guess?
Like Couple of thousands.
I asked 1 lakh rupees per month.
Oh shit.
I was ridiculed by the customer, but see, because that I saw the advice, I followed it, I quoted a price, and they will also write, "Okay, it will seem high to the customer, but they will value your product more if they pay that much." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
ठीक है, तो वो सब ज्ञान है. The problem is people don't write timelines. They don't tell how much time, what learning, etc. it takes. So I scraped all that. First 5 customers were on 10,000 pricing. But when I started doing this bottom up approach, I realized a lot of people are coming in and 10,000 pay करने को कोई तैयार नहीं है. Everybody is like, this is way high. This is so whatever the 10,000 calculation I thought, I did not see it becoming true. So then the first hypothesis was they have not used the product a lot so that they can value it. So let's wait for their retention and adoption and then pitch them the price. And so we did that. We made sure they are adopting to the product and etc. etc. And then we started pitching again. And so a lot of things are involved here. One, the kind of your customers. For example, if it's a builder in the turnover range of 10 crores to 50 crores, then he will be willing to pay this amount. So pricing बहुत ज़्यादा ऑडियंस डिपेंडेंट है क्योंकि उनकी प्रॉब्लम्स चेंज हो जाती है. So what we instead decided was, let's have this on the back end. If this problem comes, we will pitch this price. If this problem comes, we will pitch this price. And slowly we adopted it to a 3-tier plan where you will end up paying. If you are a bigger builder, you will end up buying the bigger plan because the right things are present there, because that's the problem you face. So as a builder, you don't face labor billing problem because you subcontract your labor. You don't even hire a labor. So that's not a problem that you will face, but that's a problem that smaller guy will face. So ऐसे कर करके we got clarity, but इसमें there was a lot of learning around. We were charging 1,000 rupees per month back then. Yeah, 10,000 में तो नहीं हो रहा. Let's make it 1,000. And you won't believe, Akshay, today from that 1,000 we are back to 10,000.
Wow, amazing. The 10,000 is your cheapest plan.
No, the cheapest is 3,000, but the most selling one is 10,000.
Amazing.
So there are 3 plans: 3,000, 10,000, and 30,000 plus. So the most selling is 10,000. So it took a lot of time to understand, यार कैसे लगता है, but we slowly bumped up the price as the product improved, because the product also improved the last 1.5 years.
How did you build the product without a PM? I mean, even things like the wireframes. Let's say you hired like how it should flow.
PM. तो यार देखो,
MVP के लिए you didn't need a PM. Like your front end, back end guys together.
We needed a designer. We got a designer and a developer, but me and Shubham were doing all the product things. Then we realized, boss, I think we are not like the best out there for this. So we started looking out for people who could do this. And I think 5 million के round के बाद we brought solid PMs.
Okay.
I brought really experienced folks, not really 10 years, no, 3 years, really ambitious, know the basics, ready to hustle because customers won't even answer your calls. So
Right. Yeah. You need a PM who's part customer success, part PM, something like that.
yeah. So that, and I think the future growth of those sort of PMs in the organization is not product. I used to think you have now joined product. Abhi you grow in product, but I realized those people were so like dynamic and generalists that they later chose different roles. So growth path mein, usually I've seen those people are not always product people.
Yeah, interesting.
Some people became business folks. Some people became success folks.
So it continued the same way, like onboarding site level folks, and then upselling it to the owners.
Yes. So today there is a good amount of brand of Powerplay. So recently I started taking part into events also where our customers only tell us कि यार इसमें आओ, you should talk about yourself because a lot of people will find value etc. But तो अब ऐसा हो गया है कि owners also show interest, तो top to bottom funnel is also opened and they also request, but our way is to, sir, no, you don't come into a subscription until you have confidence your site team can use the product. So you start using the product and you pay when you. So bottom up, bottom to down भी आता है, and we also cater those requests. 70-30 है अभी.
This is what would be called as PLG, right? Product-led growth.
Yes, and it's hard. It's a lot of basic things are. So I also learned this along the way. I used to think, but you need to think a lot. You have to go in a lot of details. You cannot conclude quickly. You have to a lot of things. I think which a right PM can force. Otherwise, as an entrepreneur, you will be in a hurry. ये भी कर दो, वो भी कर दो. But that right PM will stop you from. No. Okay. So if you really want to do this in the long term in the right way, this is how to do it. Don't rush into this, etc., etc. And all those things you learn when you.
Help me understand like how you implement PLG, what you learned from a good product manager in terms of implementing PLG.
When doing PLG, the first thing I understood was, if you ask a business and a startup who's doing PLG, saying that doing PLG, who is the user? And if the startup says my user is a business or the business owner, they're not doing PLG. They are saying they're doing PLG, because when you do PLG, you will say my user is a site supervisor who holds a diploma from a local college, who works in a company that is the turnover range of 1 to 10 crores. They do only these projects. Hence, his daily work only involves this. And hence, the problem faced by him, whose frequency is really high, is this. And that's what we saw. अब इतना जो नहीं बोल पा रहा है उसने पीएलजी किया ही नहीं, उसने सोचा ही नहीं. So this is something I realized, and in this process I learned. See, as an entrepreneur, I told only कि यार बड़ा market होना चाहिए. So now your goal is, oh, TAM should be like 200 billion. But the problem is, with this approach, your mind starts thinking big. But when you start execution, it's niche. A lot of niches will give a big market. So when I told this, who is your user, this is a very small niche in the big market. But if you don't solve for this niche, you will not be able to capture the adjacent niches and cover the whole market. So this is the difference when you understand investors' perspective and then your customer's perspective. And you need to understand both, because you are a founder. You have to make sure it works. And I realized this. तो पहले जब हम चलाते थे without a great set of product management team, construction के लिए बनाना है. Then we became 1 to 100 crore construction के लिए बनाना है. Then it became focused. And today there are teams specifically for a persona, right? So that is the detailing which is really required in product, because these nuances get lost when a salesperson is talking. All of that is in his mind. Sales and success functions, since they are good at sales, and so they will make sure वो बंदा कैसे सोच रहा है वैसे ही उसको बताना है. But if you want the product to do like the same, you need to put all of that in the code somehow. तो वो कैसे करेंगे and all that.
So 2022, you raised your next round of 7 million. So this was like post PMF, like that. You would have discovered PMF. This would have been more of a growth round.
Yeah.
Why do you need to spend on growth? Because PLG is fundamentally like inexpensive, right?
If you think about PLG, there is customer acquisition, and then there is activation, and then there is retention, and engagement comes in all the functions. Now if you are a founder and you are asked कि यार PLG startup बना रहे हो, बहुत बढ़िया, start building. How will you prioritize? अभी तीनों चीजें करने बैठोगे, you don't have that much time. So usually the prioritization is retention, then activation, and then acquisition. So what we were able to figure out with the 5 million round was retention and activation is possible. But acquisition अभी भी paid channels के through हम कर रहे थे. Now real PLG becomes very cheap when the acquisition also happens through product. So, and it happens in our case, but it still involves to seed. For example, if I were to do something in Karnataka, I will have to seed, invest there, put some marketing budget, and then people start using, and then there will be some. So I think acquisition piece we are still working on how to make sure that we are able to acquire 2 lakh businesses in India who use the software. That I think is still unsolved.
So, like, you need to spend until you reach that point of inflection where word of mouth
Yes.
is more powerful
Yes.
than.
Yes, and
Uh,
that's why smaller networks tend to perform well, because you can reach that critical mass really quickly in a smaller network. So, for example, in our case, the atomic network, the smallest network, is a uh, let's say a city, because most of the construction businesses will do projects within or in the area of the city. They will know other businesses in the same area. They will work with other contractors in the same area, blah blah blah. So this is the network. So now, if I cross X percentage of businesses in that city, I will start getting that product led acquisitions. So I think we are working on that, and that's still to be solved.
Got it. Okay. So one part of your revenue is pure subscription revenue. There are other opportunities also, right? Like procurement. Uh, there could be like a marketplace, or like, in terms of helping fulfill that procurement. That is a massive. I mean, there are unicorns just in that space, right? Of procuring construction material.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. So okay, so here's a let's take an example. Let's take Apple as an example. I'll draw some analogies. Feel free to add in. Apple started rolling out iPhone in 2007, 6, 7, right? And it brought in Play Store, App Store in 2009 or 10, I remember. You know? And then it brought Apple TV ka subscription. It also brought gaming apps ka subscription, right? Uh, Essentially, what's happening is there's a foundation, which is the iPhone, which is also the cash cow for them right now. The foundation is now able to give them more revenue sources. But this foundation has very high engagement. Because of that engagement at scale, they are able to sell other things to the people. Now, I like to think that we're doing the same thing, and it takes time to build this foundation. And I think we're building that foundation. And when that foundation reaches a particular scale, I think all of these opportunities can be open, because the amount of data people put in, the amount of trust they have on the platform is immense. So all of these opportunities become really, really practical.
What all opportunities could there be? One is, of course, procurement of material. So you become
Was
a
I
marketplace.
know what they should buy, what they would buy in terms of material, in terms of what kind of contractors they need skill wise, what kind of labor would they need. I also know
So, like a
what kind
services marketplace, also you could do in addition
yeah,
to a.
means I'm just saying the foundation can recommend these things. I also know that what kind of I have underwriting data for them, and I know what kind of expenses they make. I know whether they deserve credit at this much. What is the credit worthiness of these people? So this foundation with a very high engagement, the data it gathers opens a lot of these possibilities. There are businesses, benchmarks in the industry who are solving this for folks. So there's always the Netflix was there, but Apple TV still came in and take 10% of the market share. So what I'm trying to say is the foundation needs to be really strong, and then multiple other things can be done on the top of this platform. And that's why I say it's an OS, because then third party apps and services can use the OS to reach out to these people and sell, and we can make commission there.
Okay. Okay. What's your ARR right now, or what do you expect to end this year at?
We will end at 1 million. We
Okay.
started monetizing the starting of this financial year in
Okay.
March.
Okay.
So in 1 year, I think we'll hit 1 million. We are already close to half a million.
Okay.
So I think, yeah.
And what are you projecting next couple of years?
I want to reach 10 million in next 3 years.
Okay. I mean, just from India, or will you also go
Just from
outside
India.
India? Okay.
Just from India.
Okay.
Just from India. We'll focus on India. We'll make sure there is high density of businesses using the platform. It acts really like an OS. And I
Right.
think
That
once we do that, we'll be able to do a lot of other things.
the high density will give you opportunities or like credit or marketplace for
Yeah, so
say.
this involves a lot of focus, yeah, because uh, I can do those things today, but because there are a lot many competitors there. But the thing is, if I don't do this right, it will not give the fruits that we are expecting to give. So they expect. So Facebook did not make money for I think the first 3 years or 5 years. They were focusing on making sure that the people are engaging on their platform, and now obviously they when you focus on the right problem at the right time,
And
again it's the risk mitigation. So this round is not about what else I can solve. This is about can I reach that scale.
right. Yeah. 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 Okay. What's your headcount today?
We are at I think 75 to 80 full time.
Which is pretty lean, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
we are lean.
how have you kept it lean? Like you use more of PLG, very less human intervention in
Yeah,
acquisition
so
and conversion and retention.
we focus all the bandwidth on the problem that we're trying to solve. So we don't choose a lot of problems to solve also. So if you ask me if our goal today is to make sure acha, activation retention was figured out, now we need to make sure it sticks to the same thing at scale and figure out how to scale more people. So yeah, all the bandwidth in these two categories only. We don't pick a third item. Even if we do, it is very close to my chest. It's like a CEO's office or a founder's office project. People don't know about it, etc. And yeah, so we just pick few things. Otherwise, more money, more problems can be solved, more problems, and then more. So it has to.
Uh, you have like a founder's office person who helps you with these special projects, you know. So what's the stage at which a founder should think about hiring someone in that kind of a role?
So it can be different for different people. I feel a founder's time should only go to the activities that. So see, it's like playing chess. You need to think 6, 12 moves ahead. You already know the next 5, 3, 4, 5 moves. But to execute those 3, 4, 5 moves, you need people. And if your time is going a lot in these 3, 4, 5 moves only, you need one person so that that person can take those things up and do. But and you can think about 6, 7, 8 moves ahead because ultimately leverage can only be created as nothing happens overnight, right? So you start thinking about things. So I started feeling that when I raised the 5 million round because a lot of expectation was around कि ये सब हो जाएगा and I knew होगा. It just right amount of tracking, right amount of meeting people and discussing, brainstorming, etc. was required. So I thought maybe I need someone who can start tracking this for me and I can catch up with him and the team once in a week.
And what are the qualities of a good person for this role? What did you look for?
I think this person has to be a great operator. When I say operator, if there is a bunch of tasks you have given to this person, you can be hell bent confident that this person will not only solve this problem, but will set up a process that tomorrow, if this problem comes, will be solved. That because you can't get into that. And if this person is really good at this, your life is sorted. That's the first thing. Second thing is this is something I realized lately. The person has to be as ambitious as you. And it's difficult to retain such people. But if you get a combination of these two things, say I'll tell you, a lot of people when they are not ambitious, any new problem will not excite them because it's like अरे यार ये तो कर लें फिर ये सोचेंगे ना मतलब if you're a great operator you'll be in that mindset but discussion well, when you if you don't discuss there'll be no thoughts around those things and you can't think more right thinking is like uh, talking about stuff and then connecting to different things, etc. So being ambitious is very important. So my discussions usually revolve around two things with the team in this setup. Is what can we do to become like really big in 2 years? क्या चीज़ है जो हम नहीं कर रहे हैं and we should do? And if we decided that this needs to be done and we can pick these items, what did we do last week to make progress on those? And it's very simple. If answers are pretty clear to the team, I know that they are on track.
But how do you judge this? By looking at a CV, or like
No, I
whether-
don't look at CVs.
Yeah, I mean, typical founder office hiring happens where founders say, "Okay, I want someone from a big four consulting company background, or I want like tier one MBA."
No, that was not the criteria with us. But there is a reason people ask for that. So in consulting, really, the folks who go into consulting, the bar is really high in terms of doing work. They're always on. They have to travel. They have to be on track. Everything has to be like, when the communication also happens. If you see how they communicate, lead with the conclusion and then show the path ki kaise aaye. These things are really good when you are talking to a higher management person, because that person needs visibility in like 10 minutes. Abhi kaise denge, aapko aana chahiye. So I think there is a reason people do that. I did not know, so I did not put this condition, but who I ended up hiring had big four experience. So that's why I later connected the dots. This is, I don't know, this works with me. I have seen people who are this ambitious and if they're great operator, ये पता कैसे चलता है? You take their interviews, you check things, but I ended up rejecting my chief of staff. I told him, boss, नहीं होगा, and then he convinced me, showing a deck कि why hiring me is a good decision and you cannot make a bad decision like this you're making. Such things really impress you, because that guy is a great operator, is ambitious, उसने सोच लिया है करना है तो करना है. And I have seen this happening in multiple hires that I've made. They are convinced कि ये करना है, and then they make sure वो. तो I really like such things. So I really like if you have looked at everything about me in the interview, and you drop a message after the interview, 1 day before the interview, and 7 days after the interview, because in real life that's what it takes to get things done. So
yeah.
so yes,
Amazing.
these are signs.
Amazing. Okay. Oh, do you plan to raise more?
Like Paul Graham said, for growth yes, for survival no.
Okay. Got it. So I think that basically companies are a set of decisions, and the best companies are companies who take good decisions. How do you kind of ensure as an organization you're taking good decisions, because you cannot personally be taking all the decisions? So how do you build that DNA of taking good decisions in a company?
Yep. So option one is you hire the set of folks, or promote the set of folks who have been right most of the time. Looking at data without looking at data, because their judgment is better than the others. And if you can trust that judgment and you can delegate that judgment, then only more decisions can be taken in a limited duration of time. This seems to be the right. And then the other way is that you can maybe ask people to follow a framework of looking at data and then A/B test it, and then blah blah blah, and then reach at the right conclusion. Now, this system takes some time to run, and I don't know. Means the other option is making sure the system is really adopted in the organization, so that everybody, while taking a decision, runs through the system and gets the decision out. But I really liked a podcast में Kunal Shah told about this. Ki, can you ever imagine RRR movie being A/B tested? So
Amazing.
because when the stakes are high, can you imagine Elon Musk saying, I need to A/B test this rocket launch? He can't be wrong. He can't afford to be wrong. No, in software we can afford to be wrong, so we do all of these things. But what if you can't afford to be wrong? And I think in the early days, you can't afford to be wrong a lot of times because you have limited runway. So option one seems to be more feasible today with all my all things in my mind. I don't know if I discover new things though.
I guess like this is the difference between a large organization and a startup, right? Like a company like Microsoft would do A/B tests for every decision,
Yeah,
whereas
yeah,
a young startup would go with a mix of intuition, and I
yeah.
guess intuition is also in a way of ingesting data without realizing that you've ingested data,
Yeah, it's
right?
here. It's
Yeah,
not in an Excel sheet or a Google
yeah,
sheet. All
yeah,
here.
yeah, your subconscious mind has ingested data and
Yes,
arrived at a conclusion which we call
yes,
intuition.
correct. So more such people in early stage really help because they're like these folks that you can trust to take this call, and you can just say, "Ki, bhai, this call you need to take. Tell me why you took this call." But I have enough trust that 8 out of 10 calls of yours are right. So sort of such things, and I think this increases the chances of success a lot if you have such more such people in the team.
Although to discover such people also needs a founder to be comfortable giving up decision making. If you don't
Yeah,
give
yeah,
up decision making, you'll never discover who's good at decision making.
that's true. That's true. That's
And which
true. I
is
think,
hard to do, right? Like you always have that fear that what if he doesn't take a decision as good as I do?
yeah, that's true. यार और उसमें some sort of either the founder needs to have a lot of empathy around how this guy is thinking and develop confidence कि अच्छा है जैसे सोच रहा है, I think he's in the right direction. Or you sort of make a small team of 3 4 folks who complement each other's uh, sort of wrong decision making and ask the right question. I don't know, means these are ways I will learn this on the way, I think.
Right. Like a group decision will always be better than an
Yes.
individual decision.
But then there are risks there also. Sometimes consensus leads to the worst decision that could be taken. So group thinking is usually. So I don't know. I was just thinking.
Okay. Okay. Amazing. Cool.
Yeah,
Any
yeah.
other questions? Sorry.
I heard this from a great. I think Brian is the person. He's an entrepreneur in US. He told her, you can't make great products in the early stage by consensus. Uh, Usually, there's one guy whose intuition is really strong in early stage, and just follow that guy because blah blah blah. So I this is something I've come to believe that in some specific areas, some people's intuition is really good. Just trust them on those specific areas like APIs. Hit that API, get a result, and then proceed. Uh, some people are really good at thinking how to make an easy to use product. Some people are really good at thinking what can I say that this guy will buy, right? So I don't know. Maybe this is the way to